At first glance, people might mistake this woman for a victim of some scam, but the truth is quite the opposite. She is the most shameless woman in the world. So what if the child isn't yours? At least it's your uncle's child, still part of your family's bloodline, she declared. When her husband exposed that she had been pregnant before marriage, her entire family defended her. Her father even attempted to tear up the DNA test report. What seemed like a typical affair turned out to be a horrifying scheme, meticulously planned by those claiming to be family. Before uncovering this true story, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you won't miss any of our other gripping videos. The main character in this story is Luo Yuezi, a man living in Foshan, Guangdong, China. In 2024, Luo created a major commotion at both his in-laws' house and his uncle's house. He even called reporters to record everything as evidence and expose the truth to the entire nation. Although furious, he remained calm, holding a stack of reports and documents, accusing both his in-laws and his own relatives of deceiving him. While Luo patiently tried to explain, his father-in-law kept shouting, even attempting to snatch the documents from his hands, while his wife smugly sat on the sofa without saying a word. A similar scene unfolded when Luo and the reporters visited his uncle's house, where his aunt, Wang, angrily chased them out, shouted loudly. So what exactly happened? What had these relatives done to deceive him? It all started in 2023, when Luo was over 30 years old and still single. Although not particularly handsome, Luo Yuezi had a pleasant appearance, a stable income, and a kind personality. Relatives, neighbors, and friends often criticized him for not being capable enough to find a wife, which left him feeling troubled. Under pressure from his parents to get married, he decided to go on a blind date arranged by his relatives. The matchmaker this time was none other than his aunt, Wang Shulian. Wanting to find a good wife for her nephew, Mrs. Wang immediately introduced her goddaughter, Yi Meng. Yi Meng ran a restaurant in Shenzhen, was highly capable, attentive, and skilled at managing household affairs. Yi Meng's godfather is also Mrs. Wang's husband, Luo Haisheng, Luo Yuezi's uncle. According to Wang, Yi Meng was a good girl, and if she became their niece-in-law, the family ties would grow even stronger. With their relatives' arrangements, the couple quickly got to know each other. During this time, they realized they were quite compatible. Luo Yuezi was practical and ambitious, while Yi Meng was a caring and competent young woman. After some time of dating, the couple decided to get married with the blessings of both families. Not long after their marriage, Yi Meng announced she was pregnant, which brought great joy to Luo. Excited to become a father for the first time, Luo eagerly bought baby supplies and took great care of his wife, hoping for a healthy and safe delivery. Normally, pregnant women attend frequent checkups, but for some reason, Yi Meng constantly postponed her visits. She told her husband that she felt fine and believed the baby was healthy, so there was no need for checkups. Trusting his wife's words, Luo didn't worry too much. Instead, he focused on buying prenatal milk and nutritious foods to ensure the well-being of both mother and child. After a few months, Yi Meng finally attended a checkup. Each time she returned, she reported the results to her husband and presented medical receipts as proof. Seeing that both mother and child were healthy, Luo happily awaited the birth of their first child. As time passed, after over 9 months, Yi Meng gave birth to their first child, and no one was happier than Luo. After bringing his wife home to rest, Luo returned to the maternity hospital to collect her belongings and pay the hospital bills. At that point, a doctor informed him that some prenatal examination costs could be reimbursed. Overjoyed, Luo provided the previous prenatal receipts and asked if earlier receipts were also needed. The doctor then told him that Yi Meng had only attended a few prenatal checkups close to the due date. There were no earlier records. Suspecting a mistake, Luo asked to see the medical records. To his shock, he discovered that the timeline of the pregnancy didn't match, Yet the doctor confirmed that the records were indeed his wife's and that no mistake had been made. At this point, Luo became suspicious. He quietly took one of his wife's earlier prenatal reports to the hospital for verification. The doctor confirmed that the report was fake and that the actual conception date was months earlier. Luo felt as if his world had turned upside down. If the timeline was correct, his wife had been pregnant before they were married. Knowing the truth, Luo Yuezi found it hard to accept, but he didn't tell his wife and instead wanted to investigate further. When he got home, Luo said nothing but observed Yi Meng's attitude and quietly investigated to see who his wife was closest to. Additionally, to avoid wrongly accusing his wife, he secretly conducted a DNA test with the child, and the results showed that he and the child were not biologically related. However, the doctor revealed that the matching percentage of the genetic markers indicated that the child's father was likely a relative of his. This revelation shocked Luo deeply, and he began reviewing his wife's relationships. After some time, he discovered the horrifying truth and decided to expose his wife's deceitful nature. After preparing all the necessary documents and evidence, Luo called his father to join him and brought a reporter along to confront Yi Meng at her home. He mentioned that perhaps she had realized he suspected the child wasn't his, as a few months earlier, she had packed her belongings and returned to her parents' house. When they arrived at the Yi family home, Luo pushed the door open, followed by his father and the reporter. Yi Meng seemed to realize the truth had been uncovered and took a half-step back. Facing his wife and her parents, Luo angrily accused their family of being dishonest, claiming they knew Yi Meng was pregnant with another man's child, yet still deceived him. He stated that their family's deception had hurt him deeply, insisting that he was completely innocent in this situation. However, Yi Meng and her parents appeared clueless, looking at him with blank expressions. At this point, Luo Yuezi revealed that he already knew the truth. The child was not his, and placed a fake pregnancy test result on the table as he spoke. Yet Yi Meng's parents continued to insist that their daughter was innocent and had done nothing wrong. Seeing his in-laws' stubborn denial, Luo pulled out another document, a paternity test result, confirming he was not the child's father. After speaking, he prepared to unfold the DNA test report to reveal the truth. But in an instant, Yi Meng's father suddenly changed his attitude, rushed forward, grabbed the DNA report, and tore it to pieces. His swift action caught Luo off guard, and Luo then loudly questioned why they had destroyed the report if they still claimed the child was his. Hearing this, Yi Meng's father fell silent, while Luo announced that the torn document was only a copy. He then took out another DNA report, and when he revealed the results, everyone was stunned. It turned out that the biological father of Yi Meng's child was actually her godfather, who was also Luo's uncle, Luo Haisheng. The Yi family was shocked upon seeing the report, unable to understand how Luo Yuezi had uncovered the truth and identified the child's father. Why did Luo suspect his uncle instead of another man? In front of the reporters, he recounted his plan since discovering that the child was not his. It turned out that Luo had observed and noticed that Yi Meng had no relationships with other men, but was unusually close to her godfather, who was also Luo's uncle. He recalled that his wife often praised his uncle as the perfect man, not only handsome but also financially successful, right in front of him. When talking about Luo Haisheng, his uncle, his wife's eyes were filled with admiration. On his uncle's birthday, she thoughtfully bought him a gift, yet on Luo's birthday, Yi Meng bluntly claimed she didn't remember. Moreover, when the child was born, Luo's uncle seemed the happiest. Luo noticed that his uncle couldn't stop smiling while holding the baby. Additionally, before meeting Luo, Yi Meng had already been his uncle's goddaughter, and their relationship as godparent and child was quite close. After piecing together these past events, Luo Yuezi was almost certain that his uncle was the child's father. Finally, Luo made a bold decision to conduct a DNA test between his uncle and the child. However, Since Luo was just his nephew, it was difficult for him to obtain his uncle's hair or fingernails for testing. He then turned to his father for help. At first, his father thought Luo was joking when he revealed the truth. However, after examining Yi Meng's pregnancy records, his father started to suspect as well and agreed to follow his son's plan. One day, Luo's father used a mahjong game as an excuse to visit his younger brother, Luo Haisheng. During the game, Luo's father pretended he needed to use the restroom and secretly grabbed his brother's toothbrush from the bathroom. This was the only way they could obtain human cell samples from the toothbrush for DNA testing. The paternity test result confirmed that Luo's uncle was indeed the child's biological father. Holding the DNA report in hand, Luo and his father were furious. They suddenly realized they had been deceived. Worse still, the deception wasn't just from Yi Meng, but also from Luo's aunt and uncle. It suddenly dawned on Luo's mind as he connected all the dots. It turned out that his aunt, Wang, had known about her goddaughter sleeping with her husband. But instead of exposing the affair, she arranged for Yi Meng to marry Luo in order to get rid of her husband's mistress. Meanwhile, Luo's uncle knew he had gotten his lover pregnant, but quietly supported his wife's plan. As long as Yi Meng married Luo, his child would still bear the Luo surname openly and without suspicion. Thinking about this, Luo and his father were filled with rage and determined to expose the truth, humiliating both his wife's family and his uncle and aunt. Luo immediately contacted reporters to record everything as evidence for a future lawsuit. After Luo revealed his plan and exposed his wife's family's deception, Yi Meng and her parents stubbornly argued back. They refused to acknowledge the DNA test report Luo presented, claiming it was fake. Hearing this, Luo lost his temper and cursed them as scumbags. Her entire family refused to acknowledge the hospital's pregnancy report as well as the professional paternity test. Seeing things escalate, Yi Meng finally confessed that the child was not Luo's, but refused to reveal the true father's identity. She claimed that one night after drinking too much, she had slept with a stranger. After being introduced to Luo Yuezi, she admitted falling in love with him at first sight, which was why she agreed to marry him. However, Luo immediately exposed her lies. During her pregnancy, she had shown Luo fake medical reports to conceal the truth. After leaving the Yi family home without clear resolution, Luo and his father took the reporters directly to his uncle's house to uncover the truth. When they arrived, Luo Haisheng, out of shame, had fled, leaving only his wife, Wang Shulian, at home. Faced with the shocking accusations from her nephew, Wang stubbornly insisted that her husband would never do such a thing. Moreover, she claimed her goddaughter was well-behaved and would never steal her husband. When Luo prepared to reveal the DNA test results, Wang finally revealed her true colors. She forbade him from reading the results aloud and even angrily shouted for them to leave her house. Wang Shulian's behavior clearly showed that she had known the truth all along, but had lied to protect her husband's reputation. At this point, Luo was certain that his marriage was part of a calculated scheme orchestrated by his uncle, aunt, and Yi Meng's family. They had done this to save face for both families and let an innocent man like Luo bear the burden. Unable to endure this injustice, Luo Yuezi filed for divorce, demanded the return of his wedding gifts, and sought emotional damages totaling 200,000 yuan, around $28,000. However, Yi Meng refused to admit her fault and shamelessly claimed, "We're all family. The child still has the same surname as yours." Hearing this, everyone understood that Yi Meng had effectively admitted the child was Luo Haisheng's. In the end, after negotiations, Yi Meng agreed to return all the wedding gifts and compensate Luo Yuezi with 150,000 yuan, or $21,000. However, she refused to offer a written apology, insisting that she had done nothing wrong. Yi Meng and her family's shamelessness left many people furious on Luo's behalf. On June 28, 2012, an unprecedented dramatic incident occurred at the Shunyi District Court in Beijing. A woman named Su Qiuhong seemed to lose control, disregarding her own dignity and brazenly pulling up her shirt right in front of the judge. Afterward, she turned toward the audience, with hundreds of eyes from attendees and the media staring directly at her. Among them was a row of grim-faced men who appeared displeased. Nearby police officers rushed to stop her actions, but it was too late. The emotional woman tearfully revealed the years of resentment she had endured. The previously noisy courtroom suddenly fell silent, with only Su Qiuhong's sobs echoing throughout the room. The woman who exposed herself in court was the defendant, while the man seated in the plaintiff's chair was her ex-husband, accompanied by some of his brothers. Su Qiuhong came to court alone, without a defense lawyer, choosing to defend herself instead. The plaintiff's side included 3 men, Duan Rushan, her ex-husband, his 5th brother, and their lawyer. Additionally, Duan's father and several other male family members attended the hearing. Once a married couple sharing a life together, they were now adversaries in court. What had happened between them? The 5th brother of Mr. Duan stated that in 2011, while he was at work, his father called him urgently to return home. Upon arriving, he learned that his older brother Duan Rushan had been kicked out of his house by his wife, with his belongings thrown outside. At that point, Duan revealed the truth. The couple had finalized their divorce and divided their assets on October 22, 2010. According to the agreement, both houses were assigned to Su Qiuhong, while Duan kept the car. However, Duan claimed that their divorce had been fake and was actually his wife's idea. The purpose was to evade a 60,000 yuan, about 8,000 debt they owed to Duan's eldest and 5th brothers, after receiving compensation for resettlement land. According to Duan, his wife had devised this scheme, and Sweet talked him into faking the divorce. But what Duan hadn't anticipated was that after the divorce was finalized, his wife's attitude completely changed. She stopped doing household chores, like laundry and cooking, and frequently went out dancing. As a result, neighbors began gossiping about her possibly seeing another man. Later, Duan caught his wife having an affair and ended up being kicked out, returning to his father's home. Upon hearing Duan's account, his father and brothers were furious. They believed Su Qiuhong had exploited Duan's illness to seize their assets. It turned out that Duan had previously suffered from hypertension, which led to a right-side cerebral infarction, causing cognitive impairment. During his episodes, Duan's mental state was said to resemble that of a child. However, on his good days, he could still go to work and earn money. On October 21, 2010, Duan had just been discharged from the hospital, and the very next day, his wife took him to finalize their divorce. The 5th brother believed that his brother was still mentally foggy at the time, making him easily manipulated by his wife. After their father and brothers analyzed the situation, Duan realized that he had been deceived by his wife. Concerned that the fake divorce agreement would become legally binding, Duan followed his family's advice and sought a lawyer to investigate. After reviewing the case, their family lawyer claimed that if one party had been deceived or coerced when signing the divorce agreement, the contract would be legally invalid. Using this argument, the Duan family decided to sue Su Qiuhong, demanding she return the assets, including both houses, allocated in the divorce settlement. Hearing the accusations from her ex-husband's family, Su became so enraged that she clenched her fists, her face turning red as she shouted in court. When a court officer attempted to calm her down, Su even pointed directly at them, accusing them of being in the same side. Seeing Su Qiuhong's emotional outburst, the judge repeatedly reminded her to control herself, warning her that her behavior was inappropriate. After regaining her composure, Su presented a second divorce agreement. She claimed that the Duan family had long been aware of their divorce, contrary to what they claimed. However, dissatisfied with the original asset division, the Duan family had forced her to sign the second divorce agreement. The asset distribution in this second agreement was completely different from what the Duan family had presented. According to it, one house was to go to Duan, while the other house and the car were allocated to Su. Su also claimed that the first divorce agreement had been drafted in consultation with her husband and daughter. They had agreed that both houses would be left to their daughter, and their daughter had even signed the document. However, when they went to the Civil Affairs Bureau, the authorities rejected the agreement because their daughter's signature was not legally valid. After the Duan family discovered the original agreement, Duan's 5 brothers pressured her to sign a second divorce agreement to alter the asset division. However, for unknown reasons, Duan's copy of the divorce agreement went missing. Fearing that Su would use the old contract to claim both houses, they decided to sue her. Nevertheless, the Duan family's lawyer swiftly refuted her claims. He pointed out that the divorce agreement Su presented had been signed while her husband was still hospitalized. This suggested that Su may have signed the divorce agreement when her husband was mentally impaired. Since both sides had conflicting accounts, and the fingerprints on both agreements were authentic and valid, no one could determine what had truly happened at the time. As the courtroom debate grew increasingly heated, Su Qiuhong suddenly screamed in frustration. Overcome with emotion, she suddenly lifted her shirt, revealing her chest scarred from surgery, and burst into tears. "I have breast cancer and have undergone 2 surgeries. My medical records are still at their house," she sobbed. "Think about it. Someone with cancer like me, what would I need their property for? Am I taking it to the grave with me?" Upon hearing this, the entire courtroom fell silent. The woman continued crying, while insisting that she had no intention of deceiving or stealing the Duan family's property. She revealed that she had breast cancer and, despite undergoing a mastectomy, didn't know how much longer she had to live. It turned out that knowing her terminal condition and her limited time left, she had signed the original divorce agreement witnessed by her husband and daughter. Su stated that she intended to leave the property for her only daughter. After learning about this agreement, the Duan family became furious and attempted to reclaim the 2 houses. Knowing that Duan's mental state was weak, the family instructed him to file a lawsuit against Su Qiuhong. At this point, the narrative seemed to shift in Su Qiuhong's favor, yet the final outcome remained uncertain. At that moment, a handwritten letter and a recording from the couple's daughter were revealed, leaving everyone stunned. Su Qiuhong fell silent, her tear-filled eyes softening as she opened the letter containing her daughter's handwritten statement. "Dad, all these years, Mom has suffered enough. Haven't you ever thought about why Mom divorced you? Isn't it because you were too cowardly? I agreed to let you and Mom divorce because Mom has suffered too much. Dad, you're such a faint of heart. You always listen to every grandpa and your brother's decision, without ever considering Mom." In the recording, the girl's voice choked with tears as she pleaded with her grandfather and uncles. "Grandpa, please leave my mom alone. Mom has cancer, and I don't want her to live the rest of her life every day in suffering and anger. I don't need my dad's house anymore. Please just give it to my uncles and their families." After hearing his daughter's voice, Duan Rushan lowered his head in regret. The courtroom fell silent again, with many unable to hold back tears upon hearing the young girl's heartfelt plea. Su Qiuhong also broke down in sobs, never expecting her daughter to support her in such a way. After regaining her composure, Su recounted her married life from the time they wed until their divorce. After marrying Duan, since he was the youngest son, the couple had to live with his family. Duan was never the family's breadwinner. Working to him isn't important, and occasionally took on construction jobs. Meanwhile, his wife had to work to earn money, while also handling all the household chores. Due to his illness, Duan's mental state was often unstable. He showed little concern for his wife and child. Whenever the family faced issues that required a man's involvement, it was Duan's father and brothers who stepped in. Duan couldn't even fulfill the simple task of attending their daughter's parent-teacher meetings. Always his brothers to go instead. Furthermore, All major family decisions were made by Duan's father and brothers. As for Duan, he was weak-willed and lacked independence, blindly following his family's decisions. Despite working tirelessly, Su was constantly criticized by her in-laws. Whenever her father-in-law was displeased, he would hit her without hesitation, while Duan never dared to intervene. On top of that, Su had been beaten by Duan's 5 brothers over property disputes. Not only did they look down on their mentally ill brother, but they also feared Su would take control of the family assets, so they frequently oppressed and bullied her. Even when Su faced mistreatment from his brothers, Duan would simply hide in his room, too afraid to stand up for her. Over the years, Su suffered both physical abuse and severe emotional distress. After waiting for her daughter to grow up, she finally decided to end her miserable marriage and filed for divorce. Hearing this heartbreaking account from the unfortunate woman, everyone in the courtroom was shocked. Looking at the tearful mother holding her phone, the handwritten statement, and recalling the emotional recording, it became clear to everyone what had truly happened in this family. After a brief recess, the jury returned with their official verdict on the turbulent civil case. After deliberation, the court ruled to dismiss the Duan family's claims. The property would be divided according to the second divorce agreement, 1 house for each spouse, while the car would remain with Su. Many in the courtroom stood and applauded upon hearing the court's ruling. Su couldn't stop crying, never imagining she would win the case. Many believed her bold actions had exposed the true nature of her former in-laws and allowed her long-hidden grievances to be known. Please share your thoughts, feelings, and opinions about this story in the comment section below the video. That concludes this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This helps us continue bringing you meaningful content. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.